Welcome back, everyone, to Aspire to Lead, where we will be discussing the visions, inspirations, and experiences from top educational leaders. My name is Joshua Stamper, and you can connect with me on Twitter or on Instagram at Joshua_Stamper. All right, Aspire leaders, welcome back, and I'm so excited for my guest. This is someone that I've been connected to for years, and been on this podcast several times. Mr. Josh Tovar, thank you so much for being on Aspire to Lead.
Greetings. Hey, thank you, Josh, for having me here. You know what? I listen to you every morning. Well, I'm a podcast connoisseur, so I listen to different podcasts. So I go like 5 or 6 episodes of each one, then I switch around my Golden Corral, as you can tell by these fat cheeks, my Golden Corral buffet. And I come back to Josh, I get 5 of his things on. But you know what? It's great. I've been seeing you from far away, but really up close in the mornings. And just for the audience out there, hey, Josh Tovar, Pro Principal of Memorial Pathway Academy in Garland, NIZ, Garland, USA, ready to rock and roll and inspire to lead with Mr. Josh Stamper. And you know what? Let me tell you, this guy, and even this conversation today, it's organic. That's what I appreciate about you, Josh, because you know what? As Principal Cafela says, you don't fake the funk. You just throw it out there and let's just talk. And those are the best things because you know what? Sometimes, you know this, Josh. I know you were an assistant principal for a while. Sometimes there's some phony balonies out there. And, we don't learn from phony balonies. You know what I'm talking about, Josh. All the key words, the cliches. And, there's really no learning going on. The best thing about your show, the countless numbers of stars that you brought up on board, it's made me better. And the only way it's made me better is by hearing facts, by me hearing the truth. And so thank you, sir, for doing such a great job with your podcast and having all these leaders share it out into the sphere, the podcast sphere. And you know what? I wish we had more members out there that were our leaders listening to the different podcasts because you know that this is still, in our field, a niche.
It is, yeah.
It's a niche. And when you talk to assistant principals and when you talk to principals, like, oh, what podcast do you hear? Oh, no, I don't do that. Unless they're in a large commute, like an hour commute, and they'll listen to something. But again, I digress. Great job, Josh. Thank you for having me here on your show. I think it's one of the best podcasts out there. Kudos to you.
Oh, my gosh. That means the world from you, Josh, as a fellow podcaster. And you're right. It was a mission to begin with, and it was something that I heard other podcasts that, when I started, there wasn't as many as there are now. But when I heard it, I was like, this is a perfect opportunity to have PD in your pocket. Like, let's find other people that are like-minded, that have experience, that are doing phenomenal things in the educational space. And so that was my mission. And for you to say that means quite a bit. It means a lot to me. And I just thank you for joining me. And for those who may not know about you, you're in my old stomping ground in Texas and killing it out there. So will you just share a little bit about yourself and about your educational leadership journey?
Well, pretty much. I've been in education for 32 years. I'm finishing year 32. I've been at all grade levels from elementary, was my first stomping ground as an assistant principal in elementary, where I learned about pre-K moms. Oh, Lord. Josh, you know what I'm talking about, Josh. Those first 2 weeks or 3 weeks where those pre-K moms won't leave. Yep. And everyone's crying and they're looking through the windows and you tell them to go away. Hey, educator, if you know what I'm talking about, let me hear an amen. Or you know what I'm talking about, right? And then from there, I was very blessed to be in the good sphere of politics. I went back to the school I was a teacher in, middle school, high school. I've taught at the university level, future teachers and administrators. And I've taught at Park University, University of Phoenix, El Paso Community College. So, I have a good taste of what it is from pre-K all the way to future administrators. I've worked at low-performing schools, at high-performing schools. I've been blessed with team members that have allowed me to establish a vision and turn around programs at a high school. I'm normally the guy that's the structure guy, the discipline guy, the go-to AP. And I was used to dealing those type of kids that I was. I was a horrible high school student. I was a drunkard. I would ditch a lot. I lived in El Paso. So what we would do is we would ditch high school and we would go like around 10 o'clock across the border to Ciudad Juarez and we would do drink and drown for $5 or $10, depending on how watered down alcohol was. And you would come back before the end of school. I'm not proud of that, but you see, those are the facts that we still live with in public education. You know that, Josh. Kids ditch school, they go do kickbacks, they'll do bowls, they'll do vapes, they'll do their alcohol, and then they'll come back before the end of school. And where do we bust them at the high school level? Because they come back drunk into the school. They'll come back and do all those things. So I was used to dealing with that kind of student to try to shape them up. And one of the things that I learned that, the Lord allowed me to change my paradigm was when one of my former bosses, Mr. Martinez, said, you know what, I need you to take over a magnet. It was a medical magnet. The numbers were going down. And, for a CTE program, it's a lot of money at the high school level in Texas. And I'm pretty sure with Carl Perkins all over the United States, you still have that kind of situation. And I used social media to increase our numbers, 65 students. If you have no idea what I just said, that's a lot. Rising eighth graders, if you're taking away, again, for a medical magnet, what you're doing is you're draining other high schools because we're open enrollment. So what I would do is I would go, give me your brain. And what that did was that it created a ripple effect of improving the scores at the school that I was working at. And it was the use of social media that helped turn that around. And so that got me the flavor and that got the reputation out there. But that allowed me the notoriety of social media to get my foot in the door as a principal. Because in the previous district that I was at, or the one that I was in, at that one right there, with the medical magnet, I was blackballed. I'll speak about it now freely. I wasn't allowed. I was told you're not allowed to interview for principal here. I made it a point to tell myself, I'm gonna leave this profession in this district. I'm not moving because I have too many years invested in here, and I'm only gonna be an AP. And so, Glenn Robbins talks about that. Superintendent from New Jersey, right?
Yep.
I suggest this too. He sent me this book and I pre-read it and made some comments of it.
Yeah, I saw it on social media.
It talks about the dark side of education. Yeah. So if you're an aspiring administrator, I suggest you read this because he likes tying in music like Sean Gaylord. He likes tying in music to education. So I recommend you read this. So I didn't care, but people would see all the things that I would do. I would go to private schools and bring them into the medical magnet. I would have them walk our hallways. We had their mascot were the Highlanders, so we would have bagpipes in El Paso. Come on, bagpipes in El Paso, right? That's not what you're known for. But that attracted the whole culture and the climate of the campus. My former boss, Ms. Carmen Cruzay, she left the district I was in and moved to the adjacent district. And she said, you know what, Josh, I need you to come and clean up the school. And thanks to the support of our team members there, in 3 years, it was turned around from a D-. That's the rating here in Texas. I don't know about your state, but to a B- in 3 years. It's a 6A school. So let me give you a point of reference. It was 2,550 kids that went from a D- to a B-. That high school was literally next to the border, next to the fence that you hear about in the news. Yep. You would have at least 400 kids coming in from another country every day to our campus, learning English and getting their high school diploma, because it's also cheaper to live in Mexico than it is in the United States.
For sure.
And not only that, but we ended up with 3 distinctions. Those are little special ratings that your school gets. The graduation rate went from an 83, Josh, when our administration and team members went in there, to a 92, just like that in a handful of years. And it was about always honoring and respecting and encouraging every single last member. And now that we're at North Dallas, and just for those of you out there, at that point, I had been in the system for a while. And if you want to turn around a school, you got to understand that you're giving yourself up to the job. If you're not willing to give up your family, and that's why a lot of high school principals go through divorce and go through alcohol. Facts. I used to be going to area championships, by district championships, regional quarterfinal championships, because they need to see the principal there. If you want to turn around the climate of a campus, you as the main chair, you got to be seen in orchestra, in flags, in choir, in everything, so that you have those dialogues with people and they say, hey, that guy cares. He's pushing out the vision. And I got tired of raising other people's kids. I love my Bulldogs. I really did. But you know what? I had 3 kids of my own. And so this opportunity came in Dallas to arrive, and I took over a campus right now. And it's really done a great job, again, promoting everything that we do on social media, Josh. And right now that campus has two major programs. The very first program, our kids were like me, that had that drunkard, felonies, teen parent, would fall through the cracks, and kids that would come from another country. I've got Swahili, I've got Pashto, Urdu, Arabic, Vietnamese, Turkish. I've got all these languages right now at my current campus. And we've been able to turn it around and unite it to where up until the last couple of weeks, I think it was Carrollton Farmers Branch ISD. That was our 10th district that came to visit us to see why it was such a great place. Because of the climate and the culture that's created, one goes with the other one. You create a culture of expectations, a culture of celebrations, and it creates a positive climate. So to get back to the genesis of your question, at the very origin is that it's been my experience to be one of those kids that were the at-risk kids, the tier 3 kids, taking into consideration my past of being a child of divorce, being alone, self-medicating with alcohol. And I think all those experiences, us as educators, whether it be in the classroom, whether it be an assistant principal or principal, it truly allows us to grasp the love of our field, because you know what? We are in the best profession, the profession that creates all the other professions, education. So all those doctors, all those astronauts, all those air pilots, all those governors and presidents go through our hallways, the bloodstream that are our hallways in our campus. And I think it's such a joy that every time that I see a kid that either turns around, you know this, Josh, you know that when you see both the pop, you know what I'm talking about, the pop, right? Okay, the pop is this. When you go see a wrestling event and you hear your famous wrestler, his music or her music come out.
Okay, I'm with you
everyone
now. Yeah.
Pop, right?
Yep.
Or I just went to take my son to go see AC/DC. Oh my Lord. And then, it's all quiet, right? It was, and then the lights go out, pop. There's always a pop. And Josh, you're a fabulous teacher in the classroom. You know that when you taught that awesome lesson, what did the kids do? What is that? The pop. And so you have both type of pops, the kids that turn it around that were not on the good track, and the kids that were just from first grade, they're MIT help. They're just bound. There's just something about that, within that little human that creates success. And it's those things that we use as experiences to make sure that not only we enhance the child, we enhance the learning community, but we enhance this beautiful country. Hey, I'm an immigrant to this country, Josh, and I'm a product of full immersion in the 1970s. You're a youngin'. I'm an old fart. And so when you came to this country, no one, you don't have the programs back then that you have today to support ELs. In your state, it's probably ELL. This guy is worldwide. Some states call it EL. So we call it in Texas EBs. My alphabet soup for being a Mexican, it changes all over. Depends on what borderline or what time zone. But it's those things that allow us to breathe life. And right now, Josh, the moment that I'm going to timestamp the podcast, and I hope you don't mind that, we're in the fourth quarter. And all educators right now, they're running out of gas. And if we don't make it a concerted effort, that your colleague next to you, your team member next to you, that the assistant principal to another assistant principal, if you have more than one, that the main chair, the chair that I sit in, does not breathe life into our working environment, we're not going to see the pop, because we can't expect the kids to pop if the adults are not popping. So it's about creating that culture, creating that environment of success, of love, of aspirations, whatever it might be, till we get across the finish line. I hope that answers your question.
Oh my gosh, and more. I mean, there's a whole host of topics that we can pull from just an answer. And one of them was the social media aspect, because I feel like probably you more than anyone else that I've seen on social media is using social media to enhance the students, show what you're doing as far as a campus culture, but then also sharing out positive vibes to other people and really providing the narrative beyond the four walls of the school. And I'm curious where you got the idea, and you can talk about the initiatives if you want to, but I'm curious like where that idea came from and how you saw the power of that enhance your campus.
In the late 2000s, when the whole social media thing was going around, we still had the whole MySpace. I had a group of kids that, since I was new to the high school, my first high school that I arrived to as the youngest assistant principal there, we had one assistant principal per class. No one was the freshman. No one was to corral them and get them in shape. And since I was the youngest one, my boss said, all right, Josh, you're new here, so you could connect with the kids. They don't know you. You don't know them. And so I carried that group of kids for 4 years. And I started seeing them and hearing about that whole MySpace stuff. I didn't get into MySpace, but I would see them post, early stages of Facebook. But that's what they wanted. That's what they wanted. And at that moment, that was the hook for me. That was my pop. And, really, I'm very close to a bunch of those kids. Because when you have the same group of kids for 4 years, talk about looping. Talk about making connections. Now those kids have kids. And when I run into them in social media, I go, hey, don't talk bad about your kid. Remember in 9th grade when you did this? Oh, they're like, oh, Tovar, stop it. So I learned that since 2008, I've been working on both social media and enhancing culture. And I just know another thing that has allowed me to promote, just like promoting your podcast, Josh, promoting Jimmy Casas, Cafele, Principal Cafele, promoting all these people, is that this is such a not valued profession sometimes. And we all need to be part of that. We all need to be part of encouraging each other. Obviously, it starts with our base. Who's our base? Our kids. So everybody right now, and I just spoke to Region 10 aspiring principals yesterday. That's the area in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We have regional service centers. And I told them, some of you might not like social media, and I don't care if you don't like it, but if you take over the chair, you better meet your kids where they're at. You better meet the parents where they're at. And let me tell you, whether you want to or not, all your kids, 95% of them are here. Their hugs of the past, Josh, I guess I'm older than you, but we used to be able to hug kids. We used to do high five, do all that kind of stuff, right? People are very cross, holy water from making contact with kids nowadays. But to them, the likes and the shares are that. It's that embrace. Ese abrazo que le das a otra persona. That hug you give somebody else. And that's what they use. And the parents, they want to see their kids thrive because they're working 1 job, 2 jobs. You don't know what the parents are doing. But you know what? They'll scroll that Facebook. And that's where the parents are. You want to make grandma happy. So you got to make sure you put it out there. So I don't care what you feel about that out there. Aspiring administrator for the chair or assistant principal chair. You better make sure that you meet them. Because in the end, it is such a great tool, but such a bad weapon. And there's tons of Facebook groups of adults, of parents that like to shoot us down. I'd rather rhino you. I'd rather just bull you down with nonstop positivity from my home. And when I say my home, I'm talking about our campus. And it's about putting that out there, Josh. I have yet, I'm telling you right now, Josh, everything that I've done, I've got thousands of posts. You know that. I've got thousands. And I'm not just like on one platform. I'm talking about all the platforms.
You're all over.
All the platforms. I have yet to get anything, maybe within a handful, 5, of kind of concerning stuff. And concerning because they posted something dumb. So all I do is block you. But it's human nature. It doesn't matter where. Go to a basketball game. Go to a football game. Whether it be Pee Wee League, middle school, high school, professional, people are yelling dumb things. That's just being a bad human at that moment, bad choice. But I really enjoy promoting the positivity of that. And you know what? I've had the honor that through kudos to Dean Packard and Chris Starcheski, where I started off with Unlock the Middle, and I'll carry that off to the PGP podcast, that it's my podcast now. I've met a lot of great people like you. And I know your shoes. I walk your shoes. I'm still an active person in the classroom. I'm still doing PD for our team members. I'm still meeting with that parent that might be not happy with us. And it's about always sending out, hey, Josh, I try to send out at least like 10 to 20 texts per day. Yeah. And I have, I don't know, I think like 400 people from the podcast that I know. And I just go 20, 10, food, whatever I have time for. And I just send out a positive message. And Josh, what the joy about it is that I just do it because I think it's cool that you get a text out of nowhere.
Yeah, I got one the other day.
Exactly. that was my April, May one. But I get so many texts in return to me saying, you have no idea how much I needed it today. Yep. So that's where I go about the God winks. I think that's where, whether you agree with me or not, I'm not here to debate you. I think that the Lord sends messages to all of us. He places us in specific roads and pathways. And sometimes he speaks to somebody through my text. And that's when I get that return like, hey, man, I thank you. Appreciate it, brother. I really love that. So I think that it's about promoting what happens, the joy, and nonstop positivity. Because you know what? We could get down. Josh, you were an AP, what was it, middle school?
Yeah, middle school for almost a decade.
You know the drama of middle school. It does not
Yes.
change with elementary, with the jungle gym and getting pushed off from the top of the jungle gym to that senior that gets an airdrop picture at lunchtime that is an inappropriate picture. We deal with that nonsense every day. And you know what? We need to help each other. We need to stop what Jerry Brooks talks about. If you don't know who Jerry Brooks is, you gotta. He became very famous during the pandemic, but he always speaks about PB&J, professional jealousy. We need to stop that. You know, we need to support each other, back each other up. It doesn't matter what you think about somebody else. If it's a great idea, we need to promote it and say, hey, Josh, this rocks. This is awesome, bro. I can use this, not all of it, but I could use it a little bit. That's why I'm always listening to podcasts, Josh, because of people like you. You enhance my knowledge. And I could be one of those old, decrepit guys. Come on, Josh, 32 years, going on, maybe starting 33. You know how some of those people on my end act, right? I choose not to do that. I will not be stagnant water. I will not be lying there just collecting the last couple of paychecks before I get my TRS. That's retirement in Texas. I refuse to do that. If I'm going to go out like Usain Bolt. I'm going to sprint to my last gold medal. And the only way that that's going to happen is by getting knowledge, inspiration from others, because you know what? Iron sharpens iron. And that is exactly why I feel that we need to always keep on promoting it through his words, his wisdom, but also through the knowledge that we each get from each other.
Love it. All right, let's keep continuing these positive vibes, because you know, you just said that you've been a part of the profession for 32 years. That's longevity. And I know there's folks, and you mentioned it earlier too, it's fourth quarter. Folks are burnt out, they're done, and they're just kind of throwing their hands up going, what do I do next? So I want to know some strategies from you, Josh, as far as what are things that you put in place over your time and experience to say this is needed for me to make sure that I am running this marathon and that I'm going to finish in glory versus I'm tapping out, I'm done.
The best suggestion I could tell for either current leader or future leader, or if you're a current leader and you're not doing it, start it next year. There's always tomorrow. It's about establishing patterns of behavior. Once you establish those patterns of behavior, I don't care what the hell you're going to do out there. Just always do it. I don't care what you do. I have something for almost every single last day at our home that we celebrate something. Almost every single last day. Sometimes, you know, the daily running of the campus kind of ties your schedule down. And, you know, meetings at central office, you know, meetings with this, whatever it is. It delays some of it, but I always have a set celebration every single last day. Every single day, you know, Mondays we do M&Ms, lollipops. Tuesdays we do teacher of the day. Wednesday for sure student of the week. Thursday is college day, and all that is promoted on social media. Friday is Sweet by Friday, and then we also celebrate kids that are non-traditional program who never had perfect attendance. If you were there for 5 days, you get a certificate. If you're there and you finish classes, you get an extra kudos and extra snacks, because it's about encouraging them. But not only that, but the adults. We make positive phone calls. Every week, I send out like a little card, and the teachers just nominate a kid, Josh Tovar, Josh Stanford, for combing his hair good, for not talking out of place, whatever it might be. And you know what I do is I call. Hey, Josh, didn't you say you have kids from all over the world? Yeah, I've got 14 countries, 9 languages right now. Do I know Swahili? No. Do I know Vietnamese? No. Pashto, Urdu, Hindi? I don't know none of them. But you know what? Mr. Google Translator helps me out. The kid helps me out. And I still call those parents. And let me tell you, how many parents have fought me this year? None. Not one. Because they know that I'm putting credit in my credit card with them. Nonstop positivity will prevent you from right now burning out. So whatever you have to do, start it in July, depending on your calendar, and keep going. Just do one thing and be a master of it. Be Tom Brady, Usain Bolt, Michael Jordan, Tyson at his heyday, and then add another thing. And it becomes a pattern. It becomes a pattern of behavior that at that moment, people expect it from you. And they'll call you out. When I don't do my lollipops on Monday, Tovar, mi paleta? Tovar, where's my lollipop? Thanks, bro. It's just like writing cards to the kids. That's one of the things that we do. And if you want to learn a little bit more about that, I wrote on this Barbara Bray's book. You know Barbara Bray.
Oh, yeah.
Chapter 23, I wrote about the great things that happen in our home at Memorial. about thank you cards. And, it's how it helped me turn around the previous campus that I discussed earlier.
Yep.
And what I do, Josh, is I just sit here when I have a couple of minutes and I already have some of these cards made.
Oh, beautiful.
I just sit here and these are the cards that I'm going to send out. I got my birthday cards. I hope you're looking at this in the audio.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is going to be for folks on YouTube. That's awesome.
Yeah. So these are all cards and stickers that I put. I got boxes over here.
I
and
see
this
that.
is my area where I just write cards. So I ask you out there, administrator, you want to be tired? You choose to be tired. I'd rather spend 54 seconds on a positive call saying that your kid rocks, reading what the teacher says, than 54 hours on a girl fight. I'd rather be positive and spend my weekends. I normally, Josh, spend like around maybe 5 or 6 hours writing thank you cards. Mm-hmm. Because let me tell you, those 5 or 6 hours will get mailed out. They get it in the mail. I don't deal with drama. I've hardly had any kind of physical fights. I don't have food fights. I don't have graffiti in our bathrooms. I don't have destruction of bathrooms. I don't have anyone cussing at the teachers. You know what? I have 1 or 2 events, but you know what? Humans are humans. Have bad days or bad days. But I cannot say that that's not the culture of our campus, and that's not the climate of our hallways. That's why we've had 10 districts come into Memorial Pathway Academy to see it. So it's about all those little things. Today, I passed out the cards that our team members are going to write and send them. So they pick 3 or 5 cards and they write their kids a thank you card, and they write one colleague a thank you card. I'm going to get them together and I'm going to mail them out. Last month, we sent 175 cards out. Tell me that does not make a great investment in the credit card of all the learning community. Mm-hmm. So it's those things. So as you said right now, Josh, do whatever, go on our website, go on our social media, steal it, take one thing, take 2 things, but just conquer it, and then you just keep on adding. I can guarantee you at this moment right now, yes, physically we're tired because we just finished state testing in Texas. Some of you are not. I think we got 1 more day next week for state testing. But after that, we're going to have 3 weeks. And what's going to happen, Josh? What happens always those last 3 weeks? If we don't have straight control, then chaos. Exactly. Josh just showed his hand going all the way down, the airplane going down. And that's a fact. But if you have a culture of positivity, then that means you have a climate of love. And if you have those 2 things, then that campus becomes the Linus blanket. That blue blanket that Linus wrapped around for comfort, that's what we need to do. That way we're not tired. But it doesn't start in April. It doesn't start in March or February. It starts since day 1, second 1, hour 1 of that campus.
Yeah, I love it so much. Josh, you had talked about just improving ourselves. You do this with listening to other people's podcasts, but I want to send folks to yours also. I had the pleasure and honor of being on a panel not too long ago with some brilliant minds that were much smarter than me, and it was such a fun time to be a part of that group. And I just want folks to start listening to all the wonderful things that you've got going on. So we just share out just the origin story of that podcast and what you have to offer as far as professional development.
Thank you for that, Josh. Yeah, I started off, like I said, I really want to give the honor, and I haven't had the platform on other shows or anything to really give a big high five to Unlock the Middle crew that brought me in just as a quick time, part-time guest, right? And then I just become a staple of their show. Mm-hmm. Then because of one thing or the other thing, things just, everything comes to an end. Yeah. And so we were at that moment, I was working not closely, but close enough with Principal Cafele. And then we would call ourselves the Fantastic Four podcasts, which would be Sean Hurd at 10 o'clock on Saturdays, Shika and Tammy, the doctors, 10:30, Principal Cafele 10:55, and it would be Dean and myself on Sunday. And then stuff happened with Dean. He became a principal of a big school in his state. And then we just stopped. And then one day, Principal Cafele knows how to talk to you without talking to you. If you've ever met that guy, he'll talk to you without talking to you. And then he says, he would mention Fantastic Four, and Unlock the Middle. And then one day, we stopped doing Unlock the Middle. I think the last show was booked January. And then at the end of February, Principal Cafele says, well, I guess we'll just stop mentioning Josh and that other podcast until they get their stuff together. I'm using my semantical terms, but I know what he meant. But he said that on his show, right? And I'm like, no, you can't stop mentioning. It bothered me. It bothered me. Like, no, we worked too hard.
Yeah.
And then at that moment, you just got to keep on going. Something needs to inspire you. And his words at that moment said no. So that's where I reached out to Dr. Moreno. We talked to each other, and then we started going. And from that moment on, Dean gave me the blessing to book guests and Unlock the Middle. I was the one contacting. I was reaching out. And from that moment on, I would use, and I'm using this as a point of reference. I would use your show, Josh, to see if this guest fits with this.
Sure.
Will Parker, his show with this, the two principles. I hear all these, and I'm like, oh, that guy would go good, but with this guy, you see, everyone has like niches. I've learned that. A lot of people just like doing this. I have no problem with this one-on-one. But when you've got a group that you could put together of like-minded, but not like-minded people, like the group that you were on, bro.
Yeah.
You see, you get that.
Katie and George, and it's a phenomenal group.
You see, and I hear them on different shows and I go, these guys will go good. And so from that moment on, I've been able, the Lord has blessed me to reach out to people, but also, I think I bring the street cred to where people will listen to me based on what I do as a principal on a campus, which allows me to say, hey, you know what, I'm doing this. I'm not a weirdo. I'm not going to extort you. I'm not none of that. I want your brain, and I want you to come and talk to us. Yeah. And you know what? I've been very blessed. We're on show 51 this Sunday with a teacher roundtable. People need to hear from teachers. I got teachers coming in from all over the country. We had a show with teachers from all over the world. We had superintendent roundtables. We have assistant principal roundtables. The We Are Family, which is the show with bus drivers, cafeteria workers, custodians, secretary, instructional aides. It's all of us. It's all of this. It's who we are. Mm-hmm. You know what? And the only thing that we have, Josh, you know this. Normally you should be receiving that $1 million paycheck from all the podcasts that you do. Like everybody that does a podcast, we get $1 million from YouTube and from Spotify, right, Josh? Yes?
I think mine got lost in the mail.
Oh, did it? Oh, yeah. I was told I was getting one also. No, I'm just being sarcastic here. You know why? Because it's for the love. And if you know or you don't know, this does take time. It does take some valuable time out of your day, out of your family,
for sure,
to do this. And the thing is that if you're putting the positivity and the knowledge out into the atmosphere, it's a product to go to. And again, obviously, we are not at the numbers of other people. I'm not here to compete against Rogan. I'm not here to compete against Bill Maher. I'm here to provide information to people that might not have it. And I think that it's crucial that we put in those kind of panels that bring that knowledge, kind of like the Happy Show. I got Ray Hubert coming in with Tom Murray. I've got Quenisha Miller. Just like your show. All stars. Mm-hmm. You all get a show. Josh has a lot of shows by himself, podcasts. He's been interviewed. But imagine if you bring 4 other people of that same caliber.
Yep.
If you get 5 superintendents from different regions of the United States, to me, that's my thought process. When I book somebody and I know, damn it, I'm going to find somebody. It's a big country. I will find somebody. And again, it's that street cred. And you know what? I think, Josh, you could agree with me, or you can't. Go ahead and say, no, you're crazy, Josh. 2 Joshes here.
Yeah, right.
I think that 97% of people that we invite are doing it out of love, like we're doing the podcast out of love. There are 3%, and I face that 3%. How can I say this? Because all I've talked about is positivity. They're not that, well, let's just say they're not part of the 97%. And I will never name names.
No,
I don't drink anymore, so it won't. Loose lips will not sink ships. But I'm just saying, there's some people that you run into, like, hey man, hold on, this is not about Josh. It's not about this shirt, this cool, awesome shirt, which I'm not selling because I'm too broke to have a merchandise catalog. I don't have that. I'm a dad of 3 kids, but it's a cool shirt. I bought some. Josh, I'm going to send you I'm going to send you one of our podcast shirts.
So dude, I would represent. I would.
But it's just, it's the PGP podcast. And again, this is organic. I don't lie. You should have seen me at Region 10. I was like totally dropping knowledge, truth. And they're looking at me like, And I had these other principals, they're like being very nice, very courteous. I go, no, that's not true. The normal time will be 6 p.m. Central. But when it's football season, it's going to be 4 p.m. When it's non-football season. 6 p.m. for football season, 4 p.m. Because no one's going to come on your show if it's a Sunday show. And the market is too saturated on Saturdays. You know that.
Yep.
Adult events, school events, other podcasts. So the best time and I learned this from Unlock the Middle, will be a Sunday one, a strong Sunday show in the late or early evening. So that's where you could find us. And I really would like to invite you. If you're looking at me on YouTube, if you're an educator, I need you. I haven't had a South Dakotan. I haven't had an Oregonian. I don't know if that's what you call them. I've had people from Hawaii. But you is what we need. We need to hear your voice. You see, this cat right here, I'm crooked. This cat right here, he has that tread in that tire. He knows how to reach out. And, I look at him and I admire what Josh does. And so, he gets all this array of guests. So if you're interested in joining us, please reach out. We're part of the Fantastic Four. We're the bookend of the show of the four. Reach out to us. And I know you will get nothing but added plus and your voice. Oh, I have nothing to offer. You've heard this, Josh. I don't know what to say. Hell, Josh, we had no script for this. We're already at 40 minutes. We had no script for this. But you see, when it's organic and you're not faking the funk and you're not being a phony baloney, you could have open-ended conversations that go on. It's Friday, it's late evening. But you know what? To me, it's great. Yeah, I was a little bit lagging. Just so I had Friday detention today. I was a little bit lagging, and you know how those detentions go on Friday. But it doesn't matter. Yeah. Just thinking about how maybe one or two nuggets that we dropped today inspires someone to go and get it on Monday. I think that's such a valuable thing. So join us on the PGP podcast. Join us. You could be part of the show. It's a great 51 shows. I already have booked. I've got Jimmy Casas coming up, Dave Burgess coming up. And how do I have them? Because I've been listening to their shows. And I'm like, I gotta talk to those cats. I gotta be with them because I gotta learn more from them. And so it's a true love. I'm waiting for my $1 million paycheck from Spotify. That I guess yours and my check are
don't wait too long there, buddy.
But you know what? I think it's an added plus because you know what? I had the pleasure of being with you here tonight, brother.
Oh, I feel the same. I'm going to have you share out in just a little bit about your social media and how people can connect. And if they are interested in being on your show, to reach out. But before we do that, I want to get an actual item. This is something, as you know, that I ask all my guests. And, it's great that they're listening to your brilliance, your wisdom. Hopefully they've got some strategies to enhance their culture on their campus. But if there's something they could do tomorrow or next week to enhance their leadership journey, what would you recommend?
Be visible with a smile. Be visible with a smile. That right there. And some people might be looking at me at our campus. Bro, you never smile. Yeah, I got you. But you have to push yourself. Josh, I don't know about you. I would rather be an introvert turtle sitting on my couch with my remote. But people say, oh my God, you're so out there. You have so much energy. You're so into this and you're on fire. Hey, baby, when it's showtime, it's showtime. And when you get the chair, when you're the principal, you're the number one showman because you're the face of that campus. And so if you're not ready, make yourself ready for that chair because you always got to be the PR guy. So to anybody out there, make yourself smile. Greet those kids. Look at them. If you just got your suit or your beautiful dress out of the dry cleaners and that kindergarten kid that has a big booger in his nose goes up to you and has ketchup on his hand and tells you, can you open my milk? And they run that hand full of ketchup on your pants that you just paid $18 for the dry cleaning. Remember, he owes you $18. But that's not the point. Remember that you're in the best profession because that kid with a big booger, you're going to get a napkin and you're going to say, here, mijo, clean your nose. I don't want anyone to make fun of you. And then you give him a little hug. Or you see that 6'5", 7th grader that made you look silly because he's 6'5", that he's growing a mustache bigger than yours. You go up to him and you stare him down and you say, I wish I was as tall as you. Or that young lady that her outfit is more expensive than your car payment. You go up there and you say, woo, you are flashy. You're awesome. You look fabulous. Whatever it might be. Because you know what? Those 3 kids, those 3 examples, you just made their day. And you know what? Maybe that will pass on to the ripple effect. And maybe if they had a horrible day because their parents are being divorced, or maybe they turned off the light bill because they couldn't pay for it, or maybe they've been couch surfing and they just need to be happy for a little bit, you brought that joy. And that's exactly why we're in the best profession out there, because we never know what they're bringing to us. They just know that they need a smiling face. They need a gesture. They need a way to make a connection with you. And that moment they make that connection with you, you will inspire them. And then at that moment, you'll be ready to aspire to lead.
Love it. All right, man. I want everyone that's listening to connect with you in some form, some way. So where would you direct them?
All right. I'm going to use the ugly word out there. I'm mainly on X because of education.
Twitter.
I'm not here to talk to you about purple, red, or blue. I don't care about that. I meet cats like you on X.
Yeah, it's true.
That's all I care about. My algorithm is not political because I don't press on anything political. I just press on educators and I follow them. If I want nonsense, I'll go look for nonsense on my private account. But for this, reach out to MPA_Go Jaguars right here. YouTubers, yep. right there, or JT Spotlights. And all the other social media handles are the same thing. MPA Go Jaguars or JT Spotlights. So that's another thing for out there. I know we're closing off the show.
Yeah.
I have 3 sets of social medias. If you want a campus one that you're only going to see campus stuff, that's my MPA.
Yep.
So I have that for IG. I have that for Facebook. I have that for X. And my LinkedIn goes there, right? If you want Josh and his nonsense thoughts about education, some nonsense stuff about the world, how to tie us connector, motivational quotes, that's my JT Spotlights.
Nice. Right
there. And if you want to see my family pictures and how my 5-year-old keeps me in the job because I can't retire yet because I'm 50 and I've got a 5-year-old. Josh, you know what I'm talking about. I can't retire yet because I got a 5-year-old. You know what I'm talking about. You need to tutor me on how to make design web pages, right? I need that side gig, 7 streams of income, as they say, to retire. Then that's just Josh Tovar. And I really don't let a lot of people into that.
Sure.
For obvious reasons, because you know what? You pretty much heard all my nonsense on the other platforms. But just reach out. My MPA Go Jaguars, JT Spotlights. I really, please, if you want to learn about kids' thoughts, please go to my YouTube page, my name, because there is where I interview our kids.
Nice. I
interview our at-risk kids. And if you want to know what they're thinking about, the 16, 17, 18-year-old kid that tapped out on the education system, because that's who I service. That's who my job is, to inspire them to graduate. I ask them questions. What would you do if you were the principal? What do you think kids ditch? What makes a great teacher? Have you ever had a great teacher? You know how many kids have told me, Josh, they never had a great teacher? It breaks my heart. But you know what? Neither did I. So please reach out to the YouTube channel. I ain't getting no money. I only got like 100 followers. I ain't Joe Rogan. I'm not Confella with 23,000. I'm just telling you, listen to their voice because maybe they can inspire you to become a better version of yourself because of the answers that they give. So thank you very much, Josh. Those are the platforms right there. My name on YouTube or MPA Go Jaguars or JT Spotlights.
Awesome. Well, for everyone's listening, I'm going to have that in the show notes for you or in the description on YouTube. And with that, Josh, you are an inspiration. You're doing so many phenomenal things, and it's truly a joy to see everything on social media. Get your text messages of positivity. I'm not on the campus level, but it still touches me when I get those text messages from you. You're a bright light. You're a spotlight, not only on campus, but in the world of education. I just appreciate you so very much for the work that you're doing and being on Inspire to Lead.
Thank you, brother.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. Explore more podcasts at www.teachbetterpodcastnetwork.com. We'll see you on the next episode.